Okay, so this is a test run of our conveyor belt using a longer block. So the conveyor belt runs and the block goes past the sensor, and once it passes the sensor, it stops and the program determines that the block was 1.27 inches long. And then we test that result with a ruler and we find the actual measurement of the block to be around 1.27 inches long, meaning our program was accurate. For a second test run, we can use a smaller block and see if we get the same results. So the block passes the sensor, stops after passing the sensor, and this block was determined to be 0.63 inches long. Once again, we can test that result with a ruler and see that the block was around 0.6 inches long, meaning our program was indeed accurate. Looking at the flowchart that we developed in order to determine how we were going to write our code, we can see that we start by clearing all the previous data so that we can start a new test run with everything set to 0, and then we have to initialize our variables again, and then turn on the conveyor belt and define our conversion factor for what we're going to multiply the time measured by in order to determine the length of the block. So whenever the system is actually running, a block will be on the conveyor belt, and once it reaches the sensor will be reading the voltages, and so when a block is blocking the sensor, the voltage will change from, in our case, around 4 volts, dropping down to 0. So if the sensor is at a voltage that is below the threshold for us, then the block state will equal 1, and if the block state is equal to 1 and the previous block state is equal to 0, then the timer will start. And after the block passes past the sensor, the voltage will go back up, setting the block state to 0 as the sensor voltage is now greater than the voltage threshold. So the block state is 0, and if the block state is 0 and the previous block state is 1, then the time will stop after it has started, and in order to find the block length, the time that was found will be multiplied by the conversion factor, and then that time that was found will be used to display the message of the block was this many inches long, and however many inches long was determined by the block length calculation. The conveyor belt will turn off, and then the code will break, so it will stop the loop, and then the conveyor will just stay off until another test is done.